The Nazis were a feared and murderous regime, but their science and industry teams created inventions that far outlived their government. In fact, the military still uses some of its weapons today, and you might use some of it every day too. Heck, you might even drink some of them. Here are some of the most surprising weapons and inventions developed by the Nazis. The Germans had been trying to develop the perfect machine gun for years, and they finally settled on the perfect model with the MP-43, later renamed the STG-44. It solved one of the biggest problems of arms design. How do you combine the accuracy of a rifle with the firepower of a machine gun? This gun would come to be known as the first assault rifle and would be equally effective from a distance and at close range, and would influence guns for decades. While it's still technically not in use today, it remained the model for future gun designs, including the powerful, deadly Soviet AK-47 used by countless militaries. And for those who want the original, it's now being produced in the United States. And it wasn't just guns that the Nazi war machine produced. During World War II, most bombs still had to be carried by planes and dropped. This led to mass attacks like the Blitz, and even the first atom bombs were dropped the old-fashioned way. But warfare was changing, and the world powers were trying to develop the first rocket-powered missiles. The V-2 was a powerful weapon, weighing 14 tons and having a range of 200 miles. It would plow into its target at up to 3,500 miles an hour and was deployed against London and Antwerp. It's considered the very first ballistic missile, and many of the kings of Nazi Germany's rocket program later went to work for the US. And it wasn't just the technology, it was how to use it. It's a common sight today, paratroopers floating down from planes en masse, launching a sneak attack. But parachute regiments were unheard of until 1935, when Hermann Göring created the first unit for use in German sneak attacks. A surprise attack on an Austrian airfield in 1938 was a key part of that conquest, and German paratroopers played a major role in the Nazi war strategy. While the Nazi war machine eventually fell and the paratroopers often took major losses, armies around the world noticed how effective they were and started putting together their own units. But Hitler was a fan of big, showy weapons, and the Nazis had some that stood the test of time. Early tanks tended to be small, but German engineers were hard at work on tanks that would plow through enemy lines. This culminated in the Tiger tank, a pair of models that dominated the latter years of the war. It weighed in at a massive 54 tons, had powerhouse armor, and a large main gun that could blow holes in enemy tanks while taking heavy punishment. They were organized into battalions and deployed strategically to anywhere that heavy firepower was needed. While most modern tanks are smaller, the engineering of the Tiger tank continues to influence modern tank design, and one model is still in working order. Germany built tanks and also built the way to stop them. As tanks became the go-to weapon of war, Germany's weapons masters developed one of the first specially designed anti-tank weapons, the Panzerfaust. It didn't look like much, almost like a plunger that shot an oversized ball, but it delivered a powerful payload that could penetrate heavy tank armor. While it was only used during the war by Germany and other countries, it became the test case for future anti-tank weapons that would be more powerful, while using the same basic principles on how to break through tank armor. Some Nazi weapons were too deadly even for them to use. The discovery of the deadly nerve agent sarin was actually an accident. Germany was dealing with a weevil infestation, and Nazi scientists were searching for a more effective pesticide. What they created was powerful enough to kill pesky bugs and a whole lot of people. After the race to create the deadliest poison gas in World War I, even Hitler was hesitant to unleash chemical weapons again. The Nazis produced 12,000 tons of gas, but it was never used in combat, at least by the Nazis. Even today, rare uses of sarin occur and are considered war crimes, like the 2017 attack on Idlib by the Syrian Air Force. Sometimes it's just a race to see who gets there first. The sea was becoming a bigger and bigger part of warfare, and being able to sink an enemy ship faster could make the difference between winning and losing a war. That led Germany to develop the acoustic torpedo in 1943, only a short time before the United States introduced their own. These torpedoes would be equipped with sensors that would pull them toward a sonic frequency, usually one emitted by an enemy ship, hitting the target head-on. This changed the naval warfare game and became one of the go-to weapons against both surface ships and submarines, and remains in use today. Targeted weapons were the future, and the future was here. Imagine if you could direct a bomb right at its target instead of just hoping it hits. Sounded like science fiction in 1943, but it was about to become reality. The Fritz X bomb was one of the most innovative weapons deployed by the German Air Force, a bomb that could be driven once launched by an operator in the aircraft using radio waves. The Fritz X successfully sank an Italian battleship, but it would soon be undone by the radar-powered Bat bomb from the United States, and thus began the arms race that would eventually allow warfare to be conducted by remote-controlled drones today. And for every innovation, there was a way to counter it. As sonic tracking weapons became commonplace, everyone searched for a way to hide their ships from detection. The Nazi solution? The anechoic tile, a tile made of rubber or synthetic polymers placed on the outside of military ships and submarines. This absorbed and muffled the sonar sound waves, making it harder for weapons to hit their target. They made their debut on a German U-boat in 1940 and have been in use ever since, as effective as ever, except for the ongoing problem of them sometimes falling off. The Nazis didn't just create powerful weapons, they created tools of war that provided essential support. For soldiers on the battlefield, getting enough water can be tricky. Any body of water you come across could be contaminated, but most containers would be vulnerable in the heat of battle. Enter the jerry can, originally called the Wehrmacht canister. Designed in 1937 for fuel distribution, it was a simple and lightweight steel design that could be carried safely on the battlefield thanks to its durable design. As soon as it was seen in combat, American and British designers began to duplicate it, and it was soon mass-produced. Even today, you can see soldiers around the world toting the familiar can, and the Nazi scientists even found ways to expand the battlefield. Few things make warfare harder than darkness, which is why even during the most pitched battles, nightfall often means a break. But the Nazis wondered, what if their troops could see in the dark? In 1939, the first night vision devices were introduced in the form of gun accessories that shined a bright light powered by tungsten. It was filtered to only show infrared light and quickly led to Allied forces being hunted down in the night. Its name, the ZG-1229 Vampyr. This was the ancestor of today's high-tech night vision visors that are lighter and more effective at creating a clear picture of the world in the dark. And sometimes the Nazis thought their soldiers needed a little pick-me-up. As the war raged on and the Nazis took heavy losses, the commanders decided that the troops needed an edge, and that led to the introduction of Pervitin, an addictive new drug that was thought to make more effective soldiers. German psychologist Otto Ranke observed pilots on the drug and noticed that they were more alert on little sleep and felt euphoric and energized at all times. It became commonplace to give the soldiers even as they became dependent on it, and it was soon brought to market for the average citizen. While its wartime use soon ended, similar drugs would have a long legacy, being marketed as diet pills in the 1950s America and eventually becoming the illegal drug crystal meth. Some Nazi innovations had a long legacy, but weren't intended for war. As the war in Europe raged on, the Americans hadn't entered the war yet, but they did impose a trade embargo on Nazi Germany. That led to a shortage of many products, including, most terribly, Coca-Cola. The company's German branch was desperate to maintain their business in the country, so they put together a new recipe using available rations. The first recipe consisted of beet sugar, whey, and apple pulp. They called it Fanta. It was a hit, and it evolved into neon-colored orange, grape, and pineapple beverages you can still get out of soda machines around the world today. Prefer a drink with a little more kick? Germany had you covered. Kurt and Wilhelm Mast had just taken over their father's vinegar business, and their newest recipe was about to turn them into superstars. It was an after-dinner digestive aid, a potent drink that made a perfect mix-in for alcohol and had a strong flavor due to its secret mix of 56 herbs and spices. It was called Jägermeister, and while it wasn't designed by the Nazis, prominent citizens in the party began drinking it and it grew in popularity. But long after the war, it was introduced to the larger world by a liquor importer Sidney Frank, and the German drink, popular with blue-collar hunters, became an iconic party drink. But some German innovations had a much bigger impact that continues to this day. Few names in Germany were more feared and revered than Wernher von Braun. The Nazi scientist headed up the German rocketry division, and his rockets were the most advanced in the world. Germany was on the verge of creating an unbeatable military defense force, if it wasn't for the fact that they were already on the verge of losing the war due to Hitler's military mismanagement. The advanced German rockets, some complete and some almost there, became the subject of the first big battle of the Cold War, as American and Russian forces competed to get their hands on Nazi scientists. As for von Braun, he wound up joining the Americans and became one of the architects of the space program. But one Nazi innovation can be seen in more places than any other. The helicopter had been an invention in development for a very long time, going back to Leonardo da Vinci's sketches of flying machines, but no one had perfected it until 1937, when German engineers created the Fokker Achilles Fa-61. This small plane looked very different from today's helicopter, with two large rotors instead of one, but it handled itself well in bad weather, and soon the Nazi war machine was placing orders for 1,000 models. While construction stopped after an Allied bombing raid destroyed the factory, its chief designer would immigrate to the US after the war and become a designer for Cayman Aircraft, and would become one of the biggest influences in aviation history. For some of the strangest innovations of the war, check out weirdest World War II weapons you never heard of, or watch this video instead.